Greetings, my dear viewer. You're on the channel The Price of Cheating. The channel is for those who appreciate traditional family values and condemn adultery. So be sure to subscribe to the channel. Let's get started. The day Aiden Martinez returned to town marked a profound turning point in my life. Years earlier, he had been engaged to Olivia, my wife. Their relationship ended when Aiden chose to marry a wealthy woman significantly older than him, leaving Olivia heartbroken. She never hid how deeply that experience scarred her. Even when we first met, she spoke openly about the pain of Aiden's betrayal. Soon after, Olivia and I began dating. She wasn't the kind of beauty that turned heads on the street, but there was an undeniable charm about her. Her chestnut hair, kind brown eyes, and a face so soft and gentle captivated me, but it was her compassionate heart that truly drew me in. Within a year, we were married, and 9 months later, our daughter Amanda was born. For 18 of our 19 years together, life was almost idyllic. Sure, there were occasional squabbles, trivial disputes over chores or responsibilities. Olivia, an only child, carried the traits of her upbringing, sometimes displaying a stubborn streak. Over time, she softened, especially after Amanda's arrival, which transformed her completely. Amanda became our world, the bond that held our small family tightly together. As Amanda neared her departure for college, cracks began to form in what had been a nearly seamless life. Olivia and I started drifting, though our physical and emotional connection remained intact. Olivia seemed happiest when we were close, and I knew her love for me was as strong as ever. I felt the same, but the fire of our early passion had settled into the comfort of routine, like a pair of shoes worn to perfect familiarity. The real change came as Amanda's high school graduation approached. Olivia grew increasingly tense, her usual composure fraying as she wrestled with the impending transition. At the same time, my job as chief of detectives was steady but not overly demanding, given the relative calm of our county. Olivia, busy with her work as a dental hygienist, still seemed off, an unease simmering beneath her outwardly composed demeanor. Then came the barbecue at John and Ann Smythe's house. Olivia had a long-standing friendship with Ann, while I mostly got along with John thanks to our shared interest in security work. I wasn't prepared for Aiden to be there, but Olivia clearly was. She spent much of the afternoon mingling, and when I went to find her, there she was, on the porch with Aiden. The sight hit me like a punch to the gut. Olivia's neck turned a telling shade of red, her reliable signal of concealed emotion. She introduced Aiden casually, as though his presence had caught her by surprise. My instincts as a cop screamed otherwise. She explained they were reminiscing, but her flushed skin suggested a deeper story. I let it go for the moment. Years in law enforcement had taught me the value of patience, even when emotions ran high. The next day, I discreetly used my resources to dig into Aiden's past. What I found surprised me. His wife had passed away from cancer the year before, and his record was impeccable, not even a parking violation. Over the following months, Aiden's presence in our lives became increasingly frequent. These encounters weren't happenstance. Olivia was orchestrating them. I braced myself for the inevitable confrontation, but nothing could have prepared me for the bombshell Olivia dropped. One morning, after an unusually tender start to our day, Olivia turned to me, her voice trembling with emotion. "Logan, I need to talk to you about something," she began cautiously. "Please, hear me out before you say anything." A knot formed in my stomach as she continued. "Aiden was my first love. We were engaged before he left me for Catherine. Now that she's gone, he's so lonely. He told me he still loves me, and I have to admit I still love him too. But I love you as well." Her words left me paralyzed. My heart pounded in my ears as I stared at her in disbelief. Mistaking my silence for permission to continue, Olivia pressed on. "Aiden and I talked, and we think it's only fair if I split my time, 1 week with you, 1 week with him." Without a word, I got up, dressed, and walked out of the house. At the station, I locked myself in my office, ignoring everyone around me. Olivia's proposal echoed in my mind, absurd, selfish, and utterly devastating. She wanted to have it all without giving anything up. It wasn't something I could accept. That evening, I returned home, determined to stay calm despite the fury roiling within me. Seeing Aiden's car in the driveway pushed me to the brink, but I drew on years of training to steady myself. Inside, I found them sitting together, visibly anxious, waiting for me. The moment I had dreaded was finally here. Olivia shot up from her seat and moved closer, her intentions unmistakable as she leaned in for a kiss. I recoiled abruptly, and the flicker of hurt in her eyes was unmistakable, yet her pain didn't move me. "We need to talk," she said, her voice trembling. "There's nothing left to discuss," I replied curtly, my tone leaving no room for argument. "It's straightforward," I added, barely containing the anger simmering beneath the surface. "You need to choose, him or me. You can't have it both ways." Aiden, with his usual misplaced confidence, hesitated, but spoke. "Logan, I think you're misunderstanding. I'm not trying to take Olivia away from you. She just needs something more, something different." He continued, seemingly oblivious to the growing storm in my expression. "Yes, we'd share her, but she would never neglect her commitment to you. She's devoted to your marriage." The audacity of his words was like a punch to the gut. This man was seriously proposing that I allow my wife to be with him under the pretense of fulfilling her needs. My stomach churned with revulsion, and at that moment, I knew there was no salvaging our marriage. "Except for the part where marriage means forsaking all others," I snapped, my gaze piercing through him. "No, Aiden, that's not happening." "Logan," Olivia interrupted, her frustration boiling over. "This is happening, whether you like it or not. You can choose to be part of it, or not. That's up to you." "No," I said firmly. "Both of you. Get out." Olivia's tears spilled freely now. "Logan, please. You have to see where I'm coming from. I've been faithful to you all these years. Aiden was my first love, but I don't want to lose you. I love you both." Her words felt like knives slicing through me, but I stood my ground. "Tell me something, Aiden," I asked mockingly. "If your late wife had come to you with a proposition like this, would you have agreed?" He didn't flinch. Smiling smugly, he replied, "If it would have made her happy, absolutely." I barked out a bitter laugh. "Ridiculous," I said, my voice ringing with finality. Then I turned to Olivia. "And you? What if I came home and said I wanted to share myself with an ex-girlfriend? How would you feel?" Her hesitation was obvious. "I'd be upset, just like you are now, but in the end I'd agree, because I love you and want you to be happy." I shook my head in disbelief. "That's absurd, and you know it. Tomorrow morning I'm calling a lawyer. This marriage is over." I began laying out the terms of separation. "We'll sell the house once the mortgage is paid off. We'll split our savings, investments, and accounts evenly. Amanda's college fund will remain intact, and there will be no alimony because you'll be living with him." Olivia sobbed harder, but I didn't falter. "Now leave." Aiden led her to the door, but before leaving, Olivia turned back, her voice trembling. "If you change your mind, I'll be here. I love you, Logan." When the door closed, the oppressive silence of the house enveloped me. An emptiness settled in my chest, but years of police work had taught me how to push pain aside. I buried the emotions and went to my office. There was no time to wallow. There was work to do. I began writing a to-do list, methodically planning the next steps. My first call would be to Sally Leon, a formidable divorce attorney known for her sharp, unrelenting approach. I'd crossed paths with her in court many times and trusted her to handle this with precision. As I reviewed the list, another difficult task loomed, telling Amanda. I steeled myself and dialed her number. Her anguished cries hit me like a blow as she struggled to process the news. "That cheating woman did this to you, Dad," she said bitterly. "She's betrayed all of us." "Amanda," I said gently, trying to ease her fury. "Olivia is still your mother. Don't let this destroy your bond with her. Take some time before confronting her." She grudgingly agreed to hold off, though her anger was far from dissipating. Later that evening, Olivia called, her voice laced with worry. "I've been trying to reach Amanda. She's not answering." "She's upset," I explained evenly. "I asked her to take some time before speaking to either of us." You've turned her against me, haven't you? Olivia accused, her voice thick with anger and fresh hurt. You've twisted everything. How could I possibly make it worse than it already is? I asked, my tone calm but cutting. You've asked her father to condone her mother's infidelity. That's all the truth she needs. Before she could respond, I pressed on. And by the way, you should probably hire a lawyer. There's no fixing this. Her sobs returned, but I had nothing more to say. The anguish of realizing you wanted me out of your life was almost too much to bear. My love for you runs so deep that the very thought of losing you leaves me shattered. Couldn't you have compromised, even just a little? There's no use talking about this anymore, Olivia, I said curtly, then hung up the phone. The following week blurred together as I took time off work to manage the chaos of my unraveling life. But the nights were the worst. Sleeping alone became a torment. Every morning I would reach out instinctively, expecting Olivia to be beside me, only to be painfully reminded that she was gone. My first step was to contact Sally, a lawyer I trusted. To my surprise and irritation, she told me that Aiden, ever the schemer, had already reached out to her. It was clear he'd done his research and found the best divorce attorney in town, beating me to it. Are you available or can you recommend someone else? I asked, keeping my frustration in check. Sally chuckled. I never said I was working for him. I told Aiden I'm already your attorney. Relief swept over me. Thank you, I said sincerely. Logan, you've always treated me with respect, even when others looked down on me, she said with unexpected emotion. I'd never abandon you. Thanks again, I replied, deeply touched. And of course, I'll pay your fees. I appreciate that, but business is business, she joked lightly. I've got bills to pay too. While legal matters began to fall into place, the emotional toll was unrelenting. Olivia's attempt to reconcile with Amanda ended in a catastrophic argument. Olivia called me afterward, sobbing and convinced she'd lost her daughter forever. I promised to talk to Amanda, but the conversation only revealed how deep the wounds ran. Amanda was furious and unwavering. She made it clear that she didn't want a relationship with her mother. She even told Olivia she wouldn't be welcome at her graduation, her wedding, or in the lives of her future children. Olivia's devastation was understandable, but I couldn't be the one to mend their fractured bond. Olivia continued calling, begging me to reconsider her proposals, but I held firm. Once the divorce was finalized, her calls stopped altogether. I buried myself in work to cope. As chief of detectives, I threw myself into my role with renewed dedication. Over the next 6 months, I became deeply involved in mentoring younger detectives and tackling old, unsolved cases. One particular case, a forgotten murder, piqued my interest. Through diligent work, we uncovered evidence that the victim's ex-boyfriend had been the killer all along. The clues had been there, overlooked until now. Solving the case earned me a commendation and a raise. Meanwhile, Olivia and Aiden married just a month after the divorce. They wanted to buy my half of the house, but the idea of Aiden living in what had been my home was unbearable. When he threatened legal action to force the sale, I outmaneuvered him. With help from some accommodating appraisers, the house was valued at a price well above its worth. To my surprise, Aiden paid the inflated amount without hesitation. While it infuriated me, the financial gain couldn't be ignored. Thanks to Sally's meticulous work, I walked away with 75% of the proceeds since the down payment had come from my grandfather's inheritance. With the money, I purchased a condo near work, paid in full. Despite these small victories, the emotional wounds lingered. Olivia's rejection still haunted me, and attempts to date only added to my disillusionment. Most of the women I met carried emotional baggage I wasn't ready to shoulder. 8 months after Olivia and Aiden's wedding, I found myself dining alone at a quiet restaurant. I hadn't noticed them until Olivia approached my table, catching me off guard. Aiden sat across the room, absorbed in his menu. "How have you been, Logan?" she asked softly. "I'm doing well," I replied with a bittersweet smile. "And you?" "I think about you every day," she said, her voice trembling. She placed her hand over mine. "I still love you. If you could accept Aiden even a little, I'd leave him in an instant." For a moment, I considered pulling my hand away and brushing her off. But then an idea began to form. If Amanda could be convinced to approve, this could be an opportunity to strike back at Aiden in the most unexpected way. "I miss you too, Olivia," I said, the honesty in my voice surprising even me. "It's hard waking up without you, but you're married now. And by the way, I think your husband is looking for you." Olivia met Aiden's incredulous gaze with unwavering eyes, his expression clearly demanding, "What on earth are you doing?" Without flinching, she gave him a subtle nod and stood. "I still love you," she declared, her tone steady and deliberate. That evening I dialed Amanda, ready to unveil my plan. Her response was immediate and sharp, her gasp loud enough to echo through the line. "You're giving in to her? That adulteress?" She nearly spat. But as I explained my reasoning, her frustration softened. First came a chuckle, then full-blown laughter. "That's brilliant, Dad," she managed between giggles. "Go for it." Encouraged by her approval, I called Olivia the next day. I proposed a meeting with her and Aiden to revisit the conversation from the night before. Olivia's voice lit up with enthusiasm, and she quickly suggested our old house as the location, setting the time for 7 p.m. When I arrived, the atmosphere hit me like a time capsule, but the home no longer felt like mine. Aiden was already there, stiff on the couch, his expression a frosty mix of resentment and unease. It was clear Olivia had sprung this meeting on him unannounced. I ignored his icy stare, sat down, and accepted the coffee Olivia handed out before sitting herself between us. I wasted no time. "Olivia, when you said the offer to share was still open, what did you mean exactly?" Her face brightened with a radiant smile. "Oh, Logan, I meant every word. The offer still stands. You know I love you so much. And Aiden, too," she added dreamily, her gaze drifting toward him. I feigned hesitation, making a show of uncertainty. "Well, if that's true, maybe I'm willing to try. Being without you has been so lonely. At least this way, I'd have you part of the time." Olivia didn't hesitate. She flung herself at me, her kiss urgent and passionate. "Oh, Logan, you've made me the happiest woman alive!" But Aiden was on his feet in an instant, his face dark with anger. "Hold on a second, we need to talk about this." "This was your idea," I reminded him, keeping my tone calm. "Yes, but Olivia and I need more time to discuss it," he countered, his frustration mounting. Olivia frowned, clearly confused. "Aiden, what's left to discuss? We agreed on this before even mentioning it to Logan. You said you were fine with sharing." Caught off guard, Aiden flushed crimson, his protests faltering. Rather than press the issue, I decided to let them sort it out. "I'll let you two talk," I said, standing. I kissed Olivia lightly and left, keeping my composure until I reached my car. There, laughter spilled out of me uncontrollably. The tables had turned spectacularly, leaving Aiden to wrestle with the very scenario he'd tried to impose on me. The following day, Olivia called with an update. Aiden had been furious, but her threat to leave forced him to relent. We agreed on a shared arrangement. Olivia would alternate weeks between us. Aiden, however, insisted we all undergo STD testing first. I agreed, on the condition that he and Olivia did the same. Though he grumbled, the results came back clean. When I picked Olivia up for our first week, she glowed with excitement, while Aiden radiated barely contained rage. Unable to resist, I kissed her warmly before collecting her suitcases. Determined to make the evening special, I planned an elegant dinner and an evening of dancing. Olivia's emotional response was overwhelming. By the time we returned to my apartment, her whispered, "I've missed you so much," was tinged with raw vulnerability. That night we reconnected deeply. I focused on making her feel cherished, showing her through every gesture and word how much she meant to me. Her whispered words of love stirred emotions I hadn't anticipated. Despite the tangled nature of our situation, I let myself be present in the moment, savoring the warmth of her touch and the sincerity in her eyes. By morning, her soft caress woke me. Her smile carried a tenderness that rivaled the sunlight streaming through the curtains. In that stillness, it felt as if nothing else existed but us. For the rest of the week, Olivia immersed herself in the role of being my wife. Though her insistence on using that title gnawed at me, I couldn't deny the happiness her presence brought. The days slipped by in a blur of joy and bittersweet moments, leaving behind a kaleidoscope of emotions I wasn't yet ready to unravel. If that was the reality she chose to embrace, who was I to argue? My focus was elsewhere. I was spending time with Aiden's wife, and that was enough for me. Olivia had taken charge of every aspect of our shared time, maintaining the house, stocking the fridge, handling my laundry, preparing meals, and even organizing our dinners. Life felt effortless, almost celebratory. I'd even managed to get Amanda to interact civilly with her mother, something I thought might never happen. For once, their conversations didn't escalate into screaming contests. Amanda, of course, was in on the entire situation and found it endlessly amusing how oblivious her mother seemed. After dropping Olivia off at her house, Aiden would greet her with a mix of fury and reluctant pride. He'd plant an intense, possessive kiss on her lips while I followed with a quick peck on her cheek, a breezy "love you," and a nonchalant exit. For 3 months, the arrangement rolled along without a hitch. From my perspective, it was a fantastic setup. Sleeping with Olivia after the divorce felt like a personal triumph, especially since the idea had been hers to begin with. The benefits were undeniable: intimacy nearly every night, and the added bonus of persuading Amanda to move back in with her mother and spend more time at home. I couldn't quite tell if Amanda missed Olivia or just enjoyed the absurdity of our situation. 2 months into this unconventional arrangement, I was juggling work, checking in on detectives handling separate cases, when an unexpected call came in. A disturbance had broken out at Mick's Tavern, and since I was nearby, I decided to take care of it myself. When I arrived, I found the source of the commotion, a drunken Aiden causing a scene. I waved the responding officers off and approached him directly. "Let's go, Aiden," I said, grabbing his arm. "I'll get you home." "I don't need your damn help," he spat. "It's me giving you a ride or you spending the night in jail," I replied, my tone firm. After some grumbling, he conceded. The car ride back was tense and silent. When we arrived at his house, he muttered a sharp "screw you" before slamming the car door behind him. By the 4th month, Aiden's patience was wearing thin. His arguments with Olivia became more frequent, his stance clear. The arrangement had to stop. Olivia, however, couldn't comprehend his sudden change of heart. I kept my distance from their disputes, focusing instead on praising Olivia and enjoying a setup that offered more passion than our marriage ever had. By the 5th month, tensions hit their peak. When I arrived to pick up Olivia for our usual week, their shouting carried across the yard. Trying to lighten the mood, I called out, "You two better cool it, or someone might call the cops." Aiden glared at me. "Go to hell," he snapped before turning back to Olivia. "If you leave with him, we're done." "We had a deal, Aiden," Olivia said, her voice sharp and unfamiliar in its defiance. It was the first time I'd heard her speak to him that way. "That deal is crap," Aiden roared. "I'm serious. If you go, it's over." "This is ridiculous," Olivia replied with a dismissive wave. "You're the one who suggested this whole arrangement in the first place." Without another word, Aiden stormed into the house and slammed the door behind him. I turned to Olivia with a questioning look, but she squeezed my hand reassuringly. "He's just having a bad day," she said lightly. "He'll calm down, and things will get back to normal." But normal never returned. Aiden moved out, and Olivia's attempts at reconciliation went nowhere. By midweek, I got a call from her. Her voice was shaky, tears evident in every word. "He left me, Logan. Can I move in with you?" I replied cheerfully, "Of course. I'll come get you on Monday when it's my week." Confused, she hesitated. "But Aiden's gone," she said, sounding puzzled. "I want to come back for good. I realize now I made a mistake. Everything Aiden said about sharing was just a ploy to divide us. I want things to go back to the way they were before." Feigning awkwardness, I paused. "Olivia, you're the one who wanted this arrangement. You decided I wasn't enough as a full-time husband, and I've gotten used to the part-time setup. Aiden leaving doesn't really change anything. So should I still pick you up Monday?" Her sobs became uncontrollable, then eerily quiet. For a moment I thought she'd hung up. Then the bitter sound of crying resumed. After several agonizing moments, she finally choked out her answer. Yes, Logan, please pick me up on Monday." This concludes the story. If you like it, then put your powerful like and subscribe to the channel.